Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Well, let's crack on with today's first story, which comes from a throwaway account and asks, would I be the arsehole if I go on vacation with my mum instead of attending my father's wedding? My 26 male parents, 44 female and 45 male, have been high school sweethearts. My mum got pregnant straight out of high school. My mum has always supported my dad through everything. She worked double shifts so that my dad could start a business and earn significant amount of money. She never splurged on luxury goods, and even after my dad started his successful business, my mum saved and encouraged him to invest more in his business. And how my lovely dad decides to thank her? He fucks a woman who is only a year older than I am. They've been divorced for 3 years and my dad publicly started dating his mistress without any shame. My siblings have sort of a strained relationship with him. I never talked to him after the divorce. I hate to acknowledge his existence and hate it even more that he seems to think that he did nothing wrong. He's getting married to his mistress in 10 days. I can tell my mum is still hurt by the divorce. She told she is going to Romania where her parents was born. She always insisted my dad to take her there, but since my dad was busy cheating on her, he took her. I also wanted to go with her because I need an excuse to avoid the wedding altogether. My siblings told me if I don't attend the wedding, they wouldn't as well. My dad has been on my neck and trying to guilt trip me into attending his wedding, but I already booked the tickets to Romania. My relatives are saying if I don't go, I will be disrespecting my dad. I don't think he deserves an ounce of respect from me. Plus, I'm pretty sure their marriage wouldn't last more than 2 years considering how much she spends just to show off. I'd rather be with my mum. Edit, thank you people. I see that most people think I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm packing my bags for Romania. I was very skeptical. I wanted people to guide me if I was doing wrong. Thanks to those people, I am even stronger in my decision. I appreciate your feedback. One of the commenters says straight to OP, go with your mum. If anyone did any disrespecting, it was your dad, by having an affair. Although if you still want to have a good relationship with your dad, then you'd better think it through and discuss it with your siblings. Next commenter says, support your mum, go to Romania. You're right, your dad doesn't deserve much respect, at least right now. Marrying someone essentially the same age as his kid should have consequences. The next comment says, respect is earned and your father doesn't deserve your respect. A wedding invitation is not a summons and you have every right to say no. Good for you for supporting your mum during this. Perhaps after your vacation, you and all your siblings could do something together with your mum as well. You could always tell your dad that you'll go to wedding number 5. And then there were some negative comments towards OP as well. They were downvoted, but we'll cover a couple anyway. One said, I'm not going to tell you what to do. You're not the arsehole here. I will point this out. The affair was between your mum and dad, not you. Yeah, it certainly affected you, but he can't be miserable the rest of his life. What he did sucked, but if he wants to marry this woman, he should. What he had between him and your mum is over. But you also don't owe him your time or respect. What he did sucks, but it's done. You want a relationship with him. The next one said, not the arsehole, but definitely being a little brat. You're not a child, so act 26. Your dad cheated on your mum and not you. Your parents' marriage is none of your business. And that commenter continued to say, you keep referring to his adult kids as children. They are adults and should conduct themselves as adults. How do you know his ex-wife is an angel? Please explain. Because her adult son has pity for her. Again, maybe she was a horrible wife and the adult children had no clue, or maybe she stopped satisfying her husband. Doesn't matter because the husband moved on and the fact that he traded her in for a new model is not relevant. Not sure why people are taking this so personal, as if it happened to them. Ugh, God. Holy bad takes, Batman. I never understand people who say, your parents' marriage is none of your business. Of course it affects the rest of the family, Surely it's just logical that it's going to affect the rest of the family like that. But OP did update the post and they said, my post was removed by Reddit for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't know if they will allow me to post an update, but it's worth a shot. So I'm in Romania with my mum and girlfriend. Just landed 36 hours ago. My dad's wedding is cancelled. According to my siblings, my dad wanted his girlfriend to sign a prenup. She refused. It turned into a huge fight between him and her. They fought in the rehearsal dinner too. He decided to postpone the wedding until the matter is solved. I don't think this wedding will ever happen. I'm glad he is learning the truth of his value. I haven't told my mum yet. She seems happy here, so I don't want to ruin that. I might tell her today at dinner. My siblings are fine. I wish I could take them with us. Also, to those people who defended my cheating father and told me it's not my business. I hope each and every one of you suffer from what my mum, my siblings and I went through. It wasn't easy. He betrayed not just my mum, but all of our family. He was a selfish old man who wanted his cake and ate it too. 100% allowed to be mad at him for destroying our family for his dick, destroying my mum and her self-esteem like that. And those who are calling me a mama's boy. Hope your mum sees this and thinks what kind of unappreciative child she gave birth to. I love my mum. She gave birth to me and took care of me when I wasn't able to do that. Now it's my turn to support her. Adios. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit and asks, am I the arsehole for pulling out of planning my sister's wedding, causing her to lose her venue? As a wedding planner who's been in the industry for many years now, my 31 male party trick amongst close friends and family is to be able to guess how long my clients' marriages will last with pretty alarming accuracy. If you ask anyone in the industry, there are specific indicators while working with a couple that allow us to be able to gauge compatibility. I can usually get down to around a 6-month window when predicting when photos of each other will disappear from socials. This is not me taking joy in crashing and burning of relationships. Working in this career field can actually leave you feeling jaded about relationships in general, which is why I'm reluctant to work for friends and family. The specific stress wedding planning puts on some people/couples can bring out the worst in them that you don't see in everyday life. My sister is getting married early next year and practically begged me to plan for her, despite my stance on clients I know personally. I finally gave in and we began the process back in March. Last week, while we were meeting and finalizing a few things, she asked me about the party trick I mentioned. She said, since I had been working with her and her fiancé for months now, I could give my prediction as to how long they were going to last. I laughed and tried to move on. I thought she was joking, but she continued to press the issue. After her continually bothering me about this for at least 15 minutes when I'm trying to move on, I do have work outside of my specific appointment with her that I needed to get to. I finally told her that I thought that they would last forever. She claimed she didn't believe me and wanted my real number. So I shrugged and I told her the truth. 1.5 years. She was livid. I feel incredibly uncomfortable with the whole ordeal, especially with how little she respected my boundaries in what is supposed to be a professional setting, and just tried to usher her out of my office. Instead, she began ranting about my own marriage and said she gives us until the end of the year before we break up, and accused me of being a homewrecker. She finally left, and I emailed her saying I would no longer be involved in planning. I gave her the contact information for all of the vendors we were working with, but told her the venue would no longer be available as they only book to people they have existing relationships with, and my involvement was necessary. I've had to break up with clients before, but this felt particularly rough. She has now told our parents that I am purposefully sabotaging her wedding, and that I was unforgivably rude to her when she just asked a playful question. I feel very silly for letting a person disrespect my boundaries over and over again, something I typically wouldn't tolerate. But now I'm wondering if I'm in the wrong. Am I the arsehole? The other guy says, not the arsehole. She pushed, you gave a perfectly acceptable answer of forever, to which she didn't like that and wanted a real answer. But what would she have been happy with? 20 years? 10 years? It sounded like she is a constant boundary pusher. You didn't want to plan the wedding, but she pushed it. You didn't want to answer the question, but you pushed it. This is on her. That said, don't expect your family to see it that way. They probably will take her side because people enable shitty behavior from brides. Good luck. Sandwich Otter says everyone sucks here. I think you should stop playing this party trick with anyone. Even if you were accurate, it's not a nice thing to say about people. You could have avoided this whole scenario if you never played mental games with people's lives. Now, of course, your sister is an arsehole for pushing and pushing, but you should never have told her the truth. JXB says you're the arsehole for the loss of venue. There are ways you could have backed off and still salvaged that. Leaving her in the lurch was not cool. Everyone sucks here regarding the breakup prediction. Both sides are terrible. Her for pushing, and you for even advertising this trick and giving in. Careless League says not the arsehole. You told her you didn't want to plan her wedding and she badgered you into doing it anyway. You didn't want to tell her what you thought the relationship length would be and she harassed you into telling her anyway. She then threw a tantrum at your place of business, which could be very damaging to your business and your relationships with other clients and vendors. Alicat says, you're the arsehole. That's a really bad party trick for a wedding planner. I don't care if she pushed you. You don't tell your sister you will give it a year and a half. That's a horrible thing to say and it's basically like wishing a bad omen on them. Just stop with your cute little shenanigans. And there was a lot of everyone sucks here and you're the arseholes in the situation, with a few not the arsehole sprinkled in. And I was kind of like, that's a bad party trick for a wedding planner, isn't it? I know OP said it's, with friends and family or whatever, but if information ever leaks out about this, it could be potentially devastating. But at the same time, the sister's asking a question she's never, ever going to like the answer to. You tried to give her the answer of forever and it should have been just dropped there. You want to push for an answer you're not going to like, well, you're going to get butthurt about it in the end, don't you? But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? And let's have another Am I the Arsehole story from Goods of War, who says, am I the arsehole not wanting to pay grandparents for babysitting? The big question we all saw coming. Who is going to babysit our new baby? And are we going to ask your parents to babysit or put him into daycare? This was the dreaded situation between my wife and I. Before we decided to have kids, we moved out into our own house shortly after we got married, coming from an apartment we were both living in. We took everything into consideration: community, area, school district, but most importantly, location. Not just distance to work or local shopping areas, but more importantly, the distance to my wife's parents. As we knew later on, we'd have them babysit as they were the closest grandparents. My parents lived 3 to 4 hours away, which was not really ideal for daily babysitting. My mother-in-law, 67, was soon to retire the same year we were expecting, so it all worked out anyways, or so we thought. This was the kicker. Her dad, 63, I know growing up, my wife always talked about how he liked to have financial responsibility and security, so he was very financially savvy with her, but he never really shared how much he makes or made, or how much he has. He never liked the idea of free handouts, but he would help her in her financial needs, like paying part of her college tuition, buying her a car as long as she takes care of insurance, gas, etc. Which is a good mindset to which we agreed with. He's spoken to me about his retirement funds. Some were in the couple millions range, and how much he makes. Some were in the 150k a year range, so I know he doesn't need money. My wife knows he doesn't need money, but doesn't know how much he has. Whenever we talk to them about babysitting, they love the idea since her mum would be retiring, it would work out perfectly, and they would get to see their grandchild every day or most days. Soon after we had our baby, maternity and paternity leave was up, I was going back to work. My wife had another month left and her dad started talking about paying them for babysitting. Seeing as he wasn't fond of the free babysitting, he started to compare pricing of daycares in today's market and how much he would be charging us weekly. After his research, he summarized his amount to $400 a week for babysitting and $100 for weekends, and we were shocked. We thought to ourselves, at that rate, we might as well just take our baby to a daycare and not have to drive back and forth. We weren't upset with having to pay them because we wanted to pay them and we knew we weren't going to take advantage of the situation. We only started to get upset when he started demanding that we pay them for babysitting. And it's not like my wife and I were well off either. We make enough to live comfortably, so it became a huge discussion between us to the point where we almost decided that they weren't going to see their grandchild unless we decide to see them on the weekends. So, am I the arsehole for not wanting to pay my in-laws for babysitting? Edit. A lot of posts are saying reeking of entitlement, but take my sentences out of context. We weren't expecting them to babysit for free. Mother-in-law was already set to retire soon, but retired early so she could be with her first grandchild, and she loved the idea of being a full-time carer. Everything would be provided. Everything. And I guess to clarify the upset situation and using our child as blackmail. If you actually read the paragraph, I say we were wanting to pay them for the full-time care, but we weren't expecting father-in-law to be a bit absurd with the cost to pay them, and the fact that he was demanding us to pay him when we were already going to pay them. I stated in the last sentence that they wouldn't see their grandchild unless we visit them on the weekends when we have time. It doesn't negate the fact that they can come visit any time, which is what everyone or mostly everyone is assuming. It wasn't said in a way that we would bar the grandparents from seeing the grandchild. And we'll start with No Radish in this one, who says you're the arsehole, but not for the reason you think. You're focused on money, ignoring that the more precious resource is time. When you've been parents for 20 years, you will understand this better. Grandchildren are better than children. Why? Because they go home. Your in-laws have done the whole married with children thing. The young'uns are all launched. They have the house to themselves again, and I'm sure they're enjoying it. Oh, but wait. Kiddo wants to pawn off her kiddo on us and take us back to the hectic parenting days again. Oh, heck no. You say they're excited about babysitting, but I suspect that excitement was before they realized it would be a full-time job. Now they're trying to find a graceful way to back out or limit it. Thus, the $400 a week is not about money. It is encouraging you to find a different arrangement. This should go without saying, but you're the arsehole for assuming grandparents would volunteer for daycare duty, paid or otherwise, just because they are the grandparents. I know a family who went through a very, very similar situation to this, and it completely exploded the family because of it. That they expected the grandparents to look after their child when born, when they go back to work and things. And when the grandparents was only able to offer 2 days a week childcare, the parents of the child completely lost it and said, you know, your grandparents, this is what you're there for, kind of thing. It's like, what the fuck? And they said, fine, if you can't do more than that and you can't take the time for your grandchild, you won't get to see them at all. And it's been no contact for years and years. And I still hear how upset the grandparents are. And it's just bloody awful to hear about it. But back in the comments, C says, you're the arsehole. I don't know why you expected them to do it for whatever piddly amount you were planning on paying. $400 a week for a newborn care is a bargain where I am. Office Professor says you're the arsehole. Her parents don't owe you childcare at all, much less free. If you don't want to pay for their babysitting, don't. Take responsibility and find someone else to do it. To tell her parents they can't see your child if they don't do what you want sounds like extortion, but for free service instead of money. Their financial situation versus yours is irrelevant. You choose to get married and chose to have the baby. Now you get to take the responsibility for those choices, not pawn it off on someone else. Taking care of a baby full time is hard work that they didn't choose. You did. And as you can see, some of the comments came before the edit, if that makes any difference to you. But Insights Red says, I changed my mind from everyone sucks here to you're the arsehole. You admit you assumed they wanted to babysit, and full time at that. It sounds like you moved closer for their babysitting services without actually having included them in any actual discussion and just made an assumption after assumption. What if they had decided to move? What was your plan then? You only started working on a coordinated plan with them 1 month before your wife's maternity leave was set to end. Yikes. They kinda suck to charge you $400 a week, but you can take it or leave it. They're clearly trying to send a message that they are not a dumping ground for little one, and are setting their boundaries now, that you are not welcome to take advantage of them. Who knows, maybe they plan to charge you and put that money into a fund for baby's college or something. And finally, you're the arsehole because overall high assumptions and non-existent communication in general. You sound like you just plan to use them, and that's crap. Welcome to parenting. It's filled with real accountability. And shitty nappies. Grandma is just retiring and getting a whiff after the nappies, a whiff, that doesn't sound right, of freedom, and bam, you want her as your babysitting plan. Full time, and probably some weekend hours too. Shake my head. And one more comment from Sorens, who replied to that and says, I changed my mind from everyone sucks here to you're the arsehole as well. $400 is a lot if you're expecting a family discount, but in my region that's lower than what the high-end centers charge. And that's the thing, he's expecting an awful lot and is willing to weaponize his kid to get free babysitting. I looked at OP's post history, and in his last post he's complaining about not being able to afford his mortgage and blames inflation on the president for giving too many handouts. Yet here he is expecting the massive handout of free babysitting during the week, and weekends too. Typical choosing beggar. You're the arsehole, OP. You bought too much house and didn't plan for childcare expenses, and just assume you get free childcare from your in-laws. You're resentful of your father-in-law and seem to think your wife, and by extension you, have a right to know his financial details. I think there's a reason he's withholding info, because your entitled ass would feel like it's your money too. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps instead of demanding handouts. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? As always, would love to know if you have your own opinion on the matter. And of course, if you have time to share it as well. Now, just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved and taking care of one another down in the comments below, sharing your thoughts and opinions. Fantastic. Thank you so much. And I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.